So what if I told you that most enterprise drone programs are flying blind? So today, I'm sitting down with the creator of a UAS Mission Portal, Isaac Piche. So it's a platform that was born from internal frustration that I believe can revolutionize an entire industry. Isaac, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
My pleasure. So here's what fascinates me. So you didn't set out to build a product. You were just trying to solve your own company's tool chaos. So take us back to that breaking point. Let's talk about the origin story here. What was a typical day before you built UAS Mission Portal? How many different tools was your team juggling?
Yeah, it was at least 3, if not 3 to 5, kind of depending on the different requirements of the mission and the location and everything. So there's basically a GIS like mapping interface that always has to happen whenever we're doing field operations. And this goes for my current role at Quanta, for my past roles as field supervisor and field operations manager at a bunch of different companies that have all either gone on or gone under, basically. But these hurdles have been the same, where we need to get a map for our pilots out in the field so that they can see and they can plan in the morning, they can go out and they can experience it virtually and then navigate out to it, and having a task, which was the crux. So we hadn't seen a combination of the two where you could easily task assets for people to go look at along with a map specifically built for drone operations. There's some other tools out there that do that, but to be able to combine those two together in a drone operations mindset. And then the other side of it is safety and compliance, factoring in pre-flight checklists, safety risk assessments, and then for field auditors, to field safety officers, to be able to go out and easily capture forms that we can build into our audits and our internal audits, external ISBAO and bars and different utility safety certifications. It was just a mess, and it was a cobbled together conglomerate of software that gets really confusing, and there's a lot of links that can break in that. And there's so many different sign-in portals that people get really fatigued by all the different tabs they have open and stuff like that. So that was a moment of there's got to be a better way. And this idea actually started late last year in 2024, when a good buddy of mine and I were working on the same project, and we were just realizing there was so much inefficiencies in the software that we were using to manage the project. So we kicked around some ideas, and I was pretty serious about it and solving this problem, and followed it through and created UAS Mission Portal.
That's awesome. You literally took out one of the questions I was going to ask you, answered it right then. What was like the moment, right? You were like, enough is enough. We're just going to build this thing. So thanks for answering that. All right. So look, we're going to do this a little different. So we're going to have multiple segments that come out here. But the first segment's going to be about fragmentation, right? So I'm going to talk about the pain points, why this was built. Let's dig into the specific problems that you were solving. Let's go through each pain point in your framework. So fragmentation, multiple disconnected tools. Walk me through the chaos. How are pilots and managers actually juggling day to day?
So before this program, we would essentially assign task cards in one program to the pilots. We would generally use Trello to be able to send out information to people, and they would copy a lot of the time the coordinates of that information, put it into Google Maps or something like that to be able to navigate out to it, or just to get like a street view, and have to do that over and over again for all of the cards and all of the different assets that they were going to be looking at. And then something like Google Earth or maybe Google My Maps, we had looked at like Fulcrum, the software for field GIS, used that in the past. A lot of different mapping options. Esri, if you want to get really technical and expensive. And getting people that visualization is the other big disconnect there. And then, like I said, the safety side, we were using lots of PDF forms. That was one of the big pains, was having somebody with an iPad going out and filling out a PDF form, and then having to airdrop it to each other and share it to a SharePoint or something like that, or maybe email it is something else that we were doing, emailing it to like safety at whatever uasoperations.com, just to capture everything. And then you have everything hypothetically captured, but it's in 5 different places. And if you forget how to access that email, it's just a major pain in the ass. Or if you get to a point where you forget all the different places that you hid things, like when you're looking for your keys and you're trying to get out of the house in the morning, it can slow you down quite a bit and become a big hurdle. So that kind of opened up the space of there's got to be one solution to capture all of this stuff, because there's enough people out there that are doing it. And after looking around, there was nothing built specifically this niche for drone operations, and saw our operation scaling, and what we were doing is growing, and decided to build something that brought all of that and solved that very niche issue that we're having.
All right, so we're several minutes in. Let's see this thing. All right, so let me bring it up and let's chitty chat.
Okay, so when we get into the program, this is the landing page, just welcome, tells you a little bit about it. You start off with the dashboard, which gives you an overview. We don't have any projects built in. This is a brand new, as if you had just signed up, dashboard view. So the first thing that somebody would want to do is create a project. So we'll just go ahead and name a test. You can put in a description, which we'll do again. Lots of test information. Now, this is a cool feature because staying on track and staying on timeline is very important for us and for everyone that's solving these types of drone-related problems. So picking a due date allows you to say, hey, this project has to be completely finished within a certain date. So this is your final completion date. So then we have the capture date, which for us is when we plan to go out and capture the things, when we expect all assets to be captured by. So we're going to say the end of October here, today being the end of September. And then there's usually some sort of portion where there's an inspection that's happening, whether it's AI based or human in the loop. A lot of the times we have an expert qualified electrical worker who's looking at the images, who's performing that inspection. So we'll say we're going to capture everything by October 30th. By November, let's say 21st at the latest, we want everything to be looked at and inspected. That gives us about a week for QA/QC before our final deadline of December 1st. So then we create the project, and this brings us into the project dashboard. From here, let's go ahead and upload our CSV, which the CSV is structured with the structure ID. Got a lot of information going on here. It's structured with structure ID and latitude and longitude. As long as you have these 3 column headers in your CSV, then you can upload into the program and it'll drop it onto the map. Now, this is a test clean version that I had created that's just 150 assets, it's a small, easy to work with project. But we've also uploaded projects up to 15,000 structures at a time and haven't had an issue. If you have a found asset where someone's out in the field, they can pull this up on their phone, they can hit get my location, it'll drop in their latitude and longitude, and then they can add it on there. And we'll just go ahead and hit add, and now it's added it to it. There's a little bit of information in case you want to get creative with the CSV column headers and things like that, and walks you through what happens. So if you upload the same data set and you had made a bunch of changes, it'll update those assets, bulk operations like that. So for now, let's just go back and look at what we uploaded. So we're back in our dashboard, and you can see now we're seeing 151 total assets. And we'll check it out on the map because that's a big problem to solve at first. And we'll notice that we've got 151, which was one more because we added our location. And there's our test tower that we added right there. Now you can go into this asset page, which houses information for that asset. So if you have a specific entrance, maybe there's some access code 1234, talk to Billy Bob on the corner kind of stuff, you can put that in there and save the field notes for the people to be able to look it up while they're in the field and have it all easily associated to that structure. If they decide to mark it, let's say, as an access issue, they can do that, and they can also upload a picture of maybe the gate or the lock or Billy Bob flipping them the bird if they want to get creative with it. So we could add the annotation, and then you can check airspace to be able to look at if there's any airspace nearby, which I know this is Fresno right there. And then as soon as you move it, it will reload it, so you don't have it on there for you the whole time. So we're checking the airspace. We see that there's airspace. Fresno Yosemite International. We're obviously way outside of it, so we'll be good to go on this one. If you wanted to zoom in on it and get more detailed where exactly those edges are for that grid airspace, you can look at that. can do that there. And then some other basic stuff. I usually like to look at things in the hybrid view because you get the street names associated with it on top of the satellite. So you can navigate around a little more and see, oh, there's Avocado Lake. Whatever else you're looking at. That's a basic map portion of it. Do we want to pause and go move on, or is there anything else?
That sounds good. Let's talk about compliance. Okay, so one part that we haven't covered is audits. So obviously compliance headaches can be real. So what happens when a company fails an audit?
Yeah, okay. So another big part here when we fail, or when we're looking at passing an audit, failing an audit, is not having the proper documentation. It's one thing to be out there doing it, and we've learned the hard way, and so have a lot of my peers in this industry. Doing it isn't enough. You have to actually be documenting it as well. And then documenting it, you have to have it all saved in an easy to access place so that you can prove it to an auditor. So for us, building that into this is a goal, was a big goal for this, so that we had it ready to go. So you can create a tailboard, which is your risk assessment. And the cool thing is you associate it to not just the project, but also the structures that you're going to be flying. So let's say that you're out there flying these structures, and you can select them on the list or on the map. Again, it's the same kind of box selection drawn area, but we'll just go ahead and go with these. And then as soon as you scroll down, the next button pops up so that you can get to the next page. And then the pilot can type in all the information. It populates the date. It does populate the time. You select that, and then the pilot in command, you select. You can also add crew members if there's somebody else associated to it as well, maybe a VO or a safety officer who's out there helping you out. And then this is attached to that user. So you have that paper trail and that audit trail of who was actually out there doing it attached to them in the software, and you can associate all of their tailboards, all of their pre-flight checklists all together in one place. From there, it's the basic kind of aviation safety questionnaire that we've all probably seen a lot of times. I'm safe, rate your current stress level, have you consumed alcohol, fatigue level, strong emotions, how many drone flights do you have total, and certain things will trigger. So if you go less than a certain amount of days, basically the lower amount of days, the higher the risk assessment's going to be tallied up down here. If it's been 90 days and maybe you only have 3 hours of total flight, you're going to get a higher risk score that comes up down there. Same thing with all of these. If the aircraft is in poor condition, the risk score is obviously going to be much higher. So just going through these that everybody gets to do in the morning before they start and they take off for the first time, and even multiple times if they're moving location or whatever it is, you do get these pop-ups if something is alarming, basically. So here we have an advice, a mission readiness alert to stop mission immediately. So if you feel that you're not ready, and I just click this, kind of just mindlessly clicking through here, trying to multitask, it will say, hey, you just said that you're not ready for this mission, so you should not be doing this mission. And you have to acknowledge that you stopped the mission. So if you acknowledge you stopped it and then you continue on, obviously there's a paper trail and a compliance issue that you can track right there. And that allows you to improve things and reach out to that pilot and see over time. We're going to say, yes, our piloting skills are current. We are familiar with the terrain obstacles. We do have adequate knowledge of the regulations, and we honestly feel ready and capable for this test mission. So we have also assessed the slip, trips, and falls. Our hours of rest, here's another trigger. So we'll put that our hours of rest are very low. If it goes below 4, then you get this fatigue risk detected. And you can either say you have permission to do this because it's that type of mission, or you can correct it and say, oh no, I'm at 12. We are pre-flight. And we'll say that it is required before flight, just to make that clear. And then it'll just be basic stuff, props in good condition. And you can select it as part of the category, equipment. And this is going to be checked, and it will be critical. And then you can just go down, make sure to check that battery in good condition. And again, same thing, critical conditions. So as you can see, you can continue on adding items to the checklist. And most checklists have about 35 or 40. Oh, of course. I'm gonna have to fix that bad touch. That's a security feature that I didn't update on the create checklists. Let me hop over to my other account that will have those checklists.
Oh yeah, go for it.
So that we can just
just show them.
That.
Yep.
Flight checklists. Okay. And as you can see, we have now a few checklists that we've gone through and made, cleaning it up from the Phoenix Magic. We've got the actual DJI Mavic series. We've got an Inspired Flight. We've got the Skydio, and then we've got the Centero 5 flight checklist, which is the big brother from the one you got in the background there, Jason.
Oh yeah.
So these are now templates that have been filled out by the company admin that a pilot can come in and they can select the flight time, 9:52. You can put in the aircraft ID if you have something other than just the registration number. You can select, we were outside of Fresno, California. And the cool part is you can attach it to your tailboards. Let's say that I wanted to do the pre-flight checklist for this tailboard that we created a couple days ago on another test. Then you can attach it to that tailboard right there. And then the pilot just goes through and selects that these are all completed and all the way down the list, firmware up to date. Some of the things are critical, some of them are not. For you can make something like camera parameters. Maybe that's not a super critical portion to you. Maybe you want them to be able to just take off and do quick flights without having to set the camera parameters. So this is not critical as part of our checklist. And then again, there's another non-critical part here that they can type in if there's any mission-specific deviations that they wanted to add in, maybe that they forgot to include in the tailboard, and they're going through the checklist and see that there's maybe somebody within the takeoff zone that's like a photographer or something like that they want to note into there. And then again, you type your name or draw the name, which we'll just stick with the typed version for everybody to not have to suffer through my kindergarten signature. And then you can submit it. Now, of course, I didn't fill everything out, so it's going to have some issues with that. It's telling me a lot of this stuff is not filled out. So this is going to be a partial, and it's still in progress. So we'll go back to our checklist, and we can see if we look at our responses that we have an incomplete checklist here. And we have all the rest of our checklists for the last couple of weeks populating there. And we can see that they're attached to projects, and we can view and download the PDFs. So if we view them, it shows us the same view that we just had with the completed and non-completed boxes there, and the score, and everything all put together. And the last component for us that I wanted to touch on is the field audit. So for compliance sake, we do have to go out and actually audit our crews out in the field. And we have to make sure not only our crews, but our third-party drone service providers and people that we hire and work with are passing our audit as well. So this allows us to save all that information in one place. Again, you can select a project and select structures on the map, either with the map view or on the list view. We'll just grab all visible there. Let's say somehow we're going to check Los Angeles and Texas at the same time, which is maybe Flash Gordon is out there doing the audit. And then we've got our date, again, time, again, the auditor, and then whoever is part of the team. So I'm just going to say that it's me. You could add in any more crew members as well. And this could be set up as a compliance audit, a safety check, or an incident investigation, which all have their own different set of specific questions. Generally, just look at all of these. You could focus on one if it's a follow-up or something like that that you wanted to do. Then we're going to continue on to the assessment. And here we go through, and the field auditor, again, has a questionnaire that they're just going to answer yes, no, or not applicable. And if it's not applicable, then it's not going to affect our score. But for today, we're just going to say that everything is compliant and that we're in really good condition and all the maintenance is all up to date. Really impressed. We got a 100% score, which would probably raise some eyebrows, but we'll roll with it. And then on this next page, this is more of the subjective kind of page where the auditor can type in specific things and more opinionated type of suggestions, key findings, recommendations, whatever they want to add in here. And then if there's corrective actions needed or a follow-up audit, they can schedule that follow-up audit for a date that's coming up in the future. It defaults out 30 days. And then type or draw again, and we complete it. Another really neat feature is when you get that follow-up needed or that corrective action needed, it pops up on the program manager or it pops up on the company admin dashboard up here. So it'll show that there's a field audit completed with corrective actions required. And you can go in, you can exit out and say, no, I don't care. You can mark all as red, all of these different notifications, or you can go in and actually look at the audit. So it brings up the audit that we just did, and you can say, why do we need corrective follow-up actions if you got 100%? And maybe talk to the auditor at that point.
Okay, so we've been talking a lot from sort of an operator perspective. So let's talk about visibility a little bit. So let's channel a frustrated project manager. Like, where's my crew? How many miles did we inspect? Let's talk about that just for a little bit, because obviously it's awesome that we have this operator-centric viewpoint so far, which will help with planning. And then again, on the operations side, let's talk about project management, because the two are slightly separated. How do they work in this software?
So when you're looking at project management, you're able to see on this dashboard really quickly how many have been completed, how many are marked critical, how many reflights you might have, and if those reflights have a due date or a timeline associated to them, so you can quickly look at where your project stands. Right now, since we just started this project, there's 0 captured, there's nothing. So our dashboard is looking depressing with 0% completion rate. So again, we can go into our project that we just created, which has those 153 assets. And let's just grab those assets, or at least maybe the big chunk of them. And let's say Isaac had a rock star day today, and he flew about 3/4 of them, however many of those are. We're going to change the status to captured, and let's go back and take a look at our dashboard now and see if it looks any better. So now we see we're actually looking a lot better than we were. We're at 39% completion. Now this factors in the fact that it's also going to have to be looked at for inspection as well. So it works its way through this kind of life cycle of the asset inspection. So it starts with imported, and then it goes to pending, captured, inspected, uploaded. And then these other cards, if there's anything that slows it down, where it's critical, access issue, customer coordination needed, or wildlife, then it's just on hold. It doesn't really contribute anything to this completion rate. And if it hits a refly, then it basically knows that it's gonna have to be reflown. So it sets you back to basically the pending level, because that's essentially where it is in that process. So for an example, let's say, that Isaac was out there, captured 119, had a great day. And you're like, okay, that's great, but I need those uploaded. So you hit them up and say, hey, we need to get these uploaded. And I uploaded, this many of them. Sorry, I forgot to mark that. So let me just go in and mark that. So now the project manager knows that they can look at the dashboard and they can see their completion rate has reflected that as well. So now they're saying, yay, we're halfway done with this project. That's fantastic. And I can see exactly what we've accomplished, where we've accomplished it, and also when we've accomplished it, because it tracks everything with what happens on each asset. So it keeps a log of everything that changes. So we can see that these have been uploaded. These are pending still, so they'll probably get captured tomorrow. And then these ones are just captured, which means they haven't been uploaded yet. So the pilot has to still drop them into whatever the upload process is looking like for us. And that gives you an overview of the project so that you can tell where you're at very quickly by just looking at the dashboard and saying, okay, we're 55% of the way through this project. That's about where we planned on being at this point, and things are looking pretty good.
So what surprised? So it sounds like obviously this is more than just in development. This is actually in production right now. So what surprised you the most when you started opening it up in more of a collaborative environment? Obviously, this is a great sort of competitive differentiator for Quanta. It sort of worked really great for you guys internally, but what needed to change when you started to open it up to other companies?
It's a great question. One of the things that I noticed was for the pilots to be able to have a little bit more control than I was thinking. A lot of the company admins and stuff will want to create projects. Not the way that we do things, where company project managers, company admin, user roles create the projects. They assign the pilots. They're very hands-on. They task it out daily or weekly to the pilots to fly. Other companies want the pilots to be able to generate and spin up a project because they're looking at a broad area, and the company admin is sometimes just the person who's basically handling like the billing on it, and that's it. And they want the pilots to be able to handle starting up a project, doing all the risk assessment, all the pilot stuff, flying it, marking it as flown, and then capturing flight checklists, and have that type of project oversight, but as a pilot as well. So adapting that so that some companies have that option to be able to allow pilots to have more of an admin kind of role and still offer that same type of model where it's like there's the admin seats and then there's pilot seats, and project managers has been kind of something fun to work through. But eye-opening to see that that's something that other companies need and want to operate with.
That makes sense. I have an anecdote there that I could share, but I'm just not. I think there's definitely benefits to do that, but there's also caution. Just from my own viewpoint, a lot of those folks that are great at operations are not necessarily the great at project management. Just my 2 cents.
Yeah.
But you did mention so that utilities, DSPs are this is a way to scale, right? This is a way to scale without being fragmented, without losing your keys or losing your mind. So do you have some like hard numbers? What kind of ROI? Give us some hard numbers. What kind of ROI are companies seeing?
Yeah, it's all over the place. If you look at just the cost avoidance and having to refly, you can get pretty wild with the ROI pretty quickly. And I'm hesitant to throw out any real hard numbers, but I'll point out some savings in time savings and cost avoidance and things like that. Avoiding
Which is
reflights.
important, by the way. It's not always just about like money, because all those things equal money.
Yeah, and risk too. I remind people all the time, the riskiest things that most anybody in the utility industry does is drive a truck. Literally, driving down the road, especially getting out there on the right-of-ways, is the most risky thing that almost anybody does. So to avoid reflights, because you've got things going smoothly and you're not overlapping, where people, a lot of the time I've been on projects where pilots are flying the same structures that have already been flown because there's miscommunication. You get into thousands and thousands of structures, hundreds of thousands over years and things like that. You just start to run into that kind of thing where you've got people zigzagging all over the place. You don't have visibility on where your pilots should be operating out of, and you've got a guy that's staying over here, driving way over there. It's just very difficult to make those changes because you can't see it across an easy to understand interface dashboard map like this. So there's a lot that kind of falls through the table and through the cracks in terms of reflights and productivity and efficiency levels that you can see a lot of value in.
Gotcha. So obviously, look, this is just the beginning, right? So like autonomous docked drones, drone in a box, autonomous workflows. Paint that future picture for us related to this tool.
Yeah, it's really exciting to think about the future with this. Drone in a box and even automated flights, remote flights where people are filing essentially like mission plans and flight plans and sending them into a remote operations center. That's all right around the corner. Drones flying themselves are right around the corner. Being able to just sit back and press buttons and upload missions and say, hey, this is what we want to do, and send it to Skydio or whatever other DJI, whatever kind of drones are allowed to be flown at that time, is definitely the future from what we're looking at. So you can plan and you can get all of this put together on a mapping level, decide which drones rather than which pilots are going to be flying things, and send it out and push it out through different cloud environments is definitely in the future. Another thing that we're looking at is a direct upload integration so that you can just point it towards your Azure or your AWS, and those pilots can just upload data directly to your bucket or your blob storage, and it doesn't stay on our servers or our database at all. It just goes right into your own stuff, and you say which AWS bucket you want it to go into. You put your own Azure API into it and connect it directly there. And you just watch it all go through the system and make sure once it's uploaded, it automatically changes it to being uploaded. And in the future, it'll notice that these structures, because the metadata matches, were flown and we have them uploaded and captured, and it's marked off on the map.
All right. So here's my challenge to the audience. So if you're still using spreadsheets, WhatsApp, multiple platforms to manage your operations, ask yourself, what's the real cost of that fragmentation? Just think about that. So now, final question. So you've been in their shoes. What do you tell companies who are where you were that are drowning in tool chaos?
Yeah, the main thing that you have to remember is it's very hard to stop and to look around when you're in that chaos, whether it's multiple tools chaos or just in the flow of operations, and you know that you need somebody else and you can't even take the time to hire somebody else. Maybe, and you have the budget, you have the resources to make it happen, you just don't have the time to make it happen. You got to find a way to make it happen, whether it's this tool or hiring somebody or another tool out there. You got to be able to find that time to switch things and integrate a new solution when you feel like you're in that chaos zone, and when you feel things starting to slip off your plate. You got to be able to pause and say, it's going to hurt for a day or two because I have to just put a lot of other things on hold that I want to get to. This has got to happen because in 2 or 3 days, it's going to make us much more efficient, and it's going to free up a lot of time for us next week and for the week after and all the weeks after that come.
Easy question. Where can our listeners, where can the audience see a demo or learn more?
Yeah, UASmissionportal.com. We've got a free trial. You can sign up, you can upload, you get full features for 7 days, and you can use everything that we went through and showed you today. In fact, probably more, because we're constantly upgrading and just building everything that we can think of. Our roadmap has got a lot of really niche, really cool, specific things that will accent operations even more in the future.
All right, everybody, that's UAS Mission Portal, built by operators, for operators, because sometimes the best solutions come from solving your own problems first. Isaac, thanks for joining me on the show. Really appreciate your insights. Thanks for walking us through UAS Mission Portal. I hope the audience here finds some real value, and I'm excited about the future.
Yeah, I hope so too. Thanks, Jason. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. All right, so that's Jason Sansucci, the host of the Do You Know Drones podcast. We will catch you next time. Bye now.